everyone for sharing your time with me tonight. My name's Lucia. I'm 26 years old. I moved here last June from Argentina. I want to talk a little bit about inspiration.
Go.
Oh, I thought that was part of the intro. Alright.
You got some
So
more time?
yeah, I came here last June. I was sent here for work and then I just kind of stayed because I loved it. I was like, yeah, am I going back? Fuck that. Sorry. So I want to talk about inspiration. It's called, they say it's like a process by which you are stirred into action, you know, usually to feel or do something creative. I think everybody misses out on a key consequence, which is even as important as the definition of the thing itself. It's the contagion that it will cause, and it's how infectious it can be. Some fun facts about yours truly. Making things is kind of a jam. The big three are urban arts festivals back home. I also did a lot of music, sang, and performed, and I'm really into making short movies. I write, produce, direct, the works. This is what I really love to do. This is me. Not so much fun fact, I miss my friends. I really miss making things with them. I miss talking to them. I am lucky enough that we live in the height of communications technology. We have things like Skype. I love Skype. I have no beef, absolutely whatsoever, with Skype. So my beef with Skype, basically, I just feel like it's inorganic. I feel relationships get diluted over time into memories, and that got me so down, guys. I didn't want to lose my friends. They are my world. So, of course, I turn to the arts, as you do. Enter Kokorosi goddess, Bianca Cassidy. She has a workshop, a literary workshop, in her Instagram, and she gave us this sentence. The backlash of magical thinking. And she said, make a poem with that. So I did, and I wrote, the thinking lash bats his eye, back-to-back life withers and dies, magical autopoiesis, both mundane and divine. It's not wonderful, it's pretty decent. And thoughts came into my head, right? And I was just like, damn, I, first of all, had a ball writing this poem. Secondly, it was hella easy, which was amazing to me. And then I was like, hey, wait, illuminating moment. I could use this to like find my friends and like connect and create, right? So I reached out, I said, guys, give me your words, I'll make poems. I was so worried, I felt exposed, I was in a vulnerable state. I was like, will they even participate? If they participate and I write a poem and it sucks and they don't participate anymore, I was overwhelmed, but I did it anyway. I was like, let's just see what happens, right? Because I missed them so much. First impressions, people reacted differently. I got a lot of submissions, which was great. Some people took it very seriously and creatively. Other people just wanted to mess with me. We all have those friends. Gave me weird things. This is how I like word Tetris my way out of it. And in terms of project duration, I was like, they're really in tune with this. I probably have like a week. 30 poems was like a wild fantasy for me. Imagine one poem a day for a month. Craziness! But I mean, here we are after I started this, and 2.5 months in, we have 75 poems, counting today, 100 plus daily readers, which is crazy as well. And we got an average of like 3 submissions per day, which is 2 more than I need anyway. So it's a really nice, fun game. I got to reach out to my friends, acquaintances, and like social media randos in a very intimate and constructive way. So my long-term distance problem was solved. Success! But something even bigger came after that, which really blew my mind. And it's the power of mutual inspiration, of lifting each other up. I had been so like transfixed in receiving all this wonderful feedback from people and like making it work that I was forgetting about my effect on them. So, which was mind-blowing. So, this is one friend, Maka. She thought she was not fit for poetry. I was like, show me your favorite poem. I showed her the submissions. She is now poeming 3 poems with me. She realized she was in her own way, and she never misses a post. Beat that, he's a musician friend who was struggling with his music lyrics, and he threw one of the keywords at me. And then he told me that the poem that he received in return gave that lyric the depth that he was looking for. So that was insane, and I can't wait to hear it. And then last but not least, beat out Phoebe, my baby cousin. She's 16. She's a silent follower, like most of them are. Read every day, never submit. But she made a poem of her own. She sent it to me and made me cry in public, guys. That was not okay. I was so proud. And then finally, there's me. I got this new obviousness, or epiphany, if you will, you know. Whatever it is you're into, just go for it and try it. Eventually, you'll get less bad at it, and then it'll become easier, and you'll be so proud of how far you've come, suspiciously so. And, you know, no trigger is too small. Whatever you're into, you never know when you're going to move someone. Kind of like this presentation, it is a small message, but maybe it's the small message that you guys need right now. So why the hell not? And that's been my time. Thank you so much.
Great done in Argentina.
Buenos Aires.
Oh, it's such a gorgeous city.
Oh, it is. I remember, it's funny you should say that, because when I was sent here, thank you, Sonia, for that tip. Shout out to climate change. When I came here I was going to be here for a week for vacation, and everyone's saying, oh, San Francisco's beautiful, it's breathtaking. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Buenos Aires. Like,
Yeah.
I think I know what beautiful architecture is, and I just fell in love with the city. It's great. So, yeah. Lady in red.
Hello. I noticed a lot of your poems as well as your submissions come through in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a lot of posters who submit in English, and what has your experience been having a lot of your community here be English speaking, but a lot of your inspiration being Spanish words?
So community size-wise, we're looking at 10 months versus 25.
Yes.
So, or 6 actually. So when I first made that post, like, hey, I'm receiving submissions, it was both English and Spanish. I didn't get many in English. I got the bulk of them, to say 99% are in Spanish. But whenever I do get an English submission, I will write an English poem for them. And actually, this really blew my mind because I was mortified, you know, of like feeling alone, not getting any feedback. And this has made me so happy. And back home, I also did like these slam poetry seminars, which I didn't mention, but it was like so much fun. And I'm thinking of starting a workshop here. So if anybody's interested, we can talk. Another thing, other announcements, I brought 2 sheets of poems that I tried to translate. Of course, some things get lost on the way, but they're there if you want to read them. And I also brought a bunch of words, y'all, so if you guys want to make some poetry over the break, I'm happy to help and super psyched. Yes?
Is most of your audience still your friends and people that you like know in person, or have you also gained a significant following of people who just like poetry on Instagram?
So I have 2, I take the suggestions and I do the story postings on my personal Instagram, and then I made an open one where I just put like the end product.
Mm-hmm.
I have some friends who have told their friends, so they'll like my friends will be like, this is my response and this is my friend's response, and they'll credit them. So I credit a bunch of people that are not in my network, and a lot of friends started adding me, which is very nice as well. It's very flattering and really fun. It's also interesting when you never really know who's going to answer. So I was going to mention this, but I had no time. Sometimes when you make a poem and you see the contributions and you think of like how different these people are, and they're just converging into one, like, I'm not going to say art piece because they're not that cocky, but one thing that they made together without even knowing it. I was thinking of like, if I ever made a book out of this, I would like have everyone have a number of like the contributions they've made together and like have them talk, which would be insane. But it's really nice in your head. You think of like all these worlds clashing with, you know, effortlessly.
You had that slide up with 3 things that you do, and there was also video and urban art festivals. And
Yeah.
Music.
Proyecto Persiana, my baby.
One of the first things that you talked about when I met you was wanting to do urban art festivals in San Francisco. Would you be willing to talk about that at all?
Yes, okay, so 3 years ago, these beautiful creatures and I embarked on the adventure of making massive urban and music art festivals in the streets of Buenos Aires. So what we would do is intervene 4 entire blocks and have like 70 painters or muralists paint like 70 murals at once, and then close it all off with a music festival. And that just really brought the neighborhood together. There was a lot of resistance between the authorities and graffiti. Graffiti has a very heavy stigma where I come from, so that was really a step forward, and it was amazing just to be a part of that. It was an honor for me, and yeah, that would be definitely something that I'd be interested in doing now. I also this was my last day at my job, so any projects that you guys have and you need someone to hold a lamp in a corner or anything, this guy.
Are you still trying to do the urban art festivals here, like as an active thing?
Sincerely, I did put that in pause because I had other things that I wanted to do. I went in this like crazy writing binge and wrote so much stuff, and also having the full-time job and stuff that really held me back. But now I'm into part-time, remote, and that'll give me so much time to do all of the things. It's gonna be great. Sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, touching on screenplay writing, when pitching a story, I guess like to a producer, like who would be like the best person to pitch that story to, and how would you go about it?
I feel that's Angela's turf. I don't want to overstep.
Oh, alright.
Smart.
Yeah.
Good segue.
On that note, in 5 minutes.
30 minutes too early.
We can talk about it a little more in the break, maybe. Any more questions?
So you've been doing the poetry stuff like 2.5 months, is that
Yeah,
right?
I started mid-January or something.
Cool. How much longer do you think you'll do that, and what's next?
So, in terms of poematic, and that's the name of the project, at first, like I said, having even 30 poems was insane to me. It didn't, and that's also what one of the positive effects of like contagious inspiration is, that how things that are massive, just once you overcome them, feel so commonplace. And that's probably the best like word of advice that I can give, or guidance, in terms of like, don't fear your dreams, because they will be so little so soon. Just like enjoy it and do it. So my like insane moonshot thing would be to have like 300 and just do it all year round until people stop playing with me. Full disclosure, there was one day that no one posted anything, and I turned to my friends group chat. I was like, guys, give me words. I'm sorry, I have to do this. It was like somewhere between the 20s and 30s,
Okay.
and then it just flowed a little better from there. I would love to make a poem, a poetry book. It's kind of like a childhood dream I've had.
Yeah.
So I would make a selection of maybe like 50 best ones, and I found this amazing illustrator back home in Buenos Aires, and she's totally down to illustrate it. So that'd be great.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What are some like low impact things that you would suggest for people? Like for example, for me, I want to write more, but I'm super busy, and so I never prioritize writing. And so, what are some like low impact things that you would suggest for somebody like me to?
What if I
Get
told
the
you
habit
that every
going.
single poem I've written was in under 5 minutes, and if I were super stuck, maybe 7 minutes. I'm not again. Like,
No, but that's
wor-
not like no, you're
words
right.
are my thing, but usually, for example, I used to commute. I would take an Uber pool to work every day. So I would wait, because there's like a time difference. So like there's a little slight like delay with Buenos Aires. So I would just let the submissions accumulate for a bit, and then I'd sit down in my Uber pool, which is like an hour, and I would just like, cool, sit down, look at it, type it out. And also, don't give yourself a hard time. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. That's also a personal struggle of mine. I'm always afraid of creating, because like if it's terrible, it's such like a bad, it's such a like toxic cycle, because you don't write because you think you're gonna be bad, but you don't practice so you are bad. So just spit something out, mold it-ish if you can, and eventually you will find yourself, you will find your voice. But just play with it.
A comment on that, and I can't remember where I heard it. The podcasts are terrible, but I was listening to a podcast recently talking about exactly that, and one of the things they said is that constraints promote creativity, which is exactly what sort of you've been alluding to. And they said one of the reasons is because constraints gamify creativity. People are used to playing a game, having fun with the game, losing the game, and still having fun. Versus you don't want to lose at art, because that means you're bad at art. So if you turn it
And
into a
that'll break
game,
your heart, man.
then
That's
you can
fucking fun.
then you can play at it, and if you lose, no big deal. So give yourself constraints, like and this is like the French poets are like, I'm gonna write a book with no ease. If you tell somebody to write a book, they're but if you tell them write a book, but you can't use any ease, suddenly it weirdly gets easier.
Yeah, just get out of your own head. This girl, Macarena, it was really impressive, because it was the first poem, and she wrote back and she said, this is insane, this is beautiful, thank you for sharing, I'm really happy you've started doing this. And I'm like, all right, you're welcome to join anytime, as many times as you want, like I'm here all year, guys. And she's like, no, I could never be at the height of these poets. And again, I got some weird ass shit submissions from my friends. Like, I got a couple bros who thought it was funny. I made it work, though. You could never tell by the poems. I'm like, oh yeah? Here you go. Beautiful imagery. Suck it. I love you. Thank you for playing. But suck it. Yeah, so, yeah, just no worries. No, and it's a hard lesson to learn, and it took me 2 months and like a daily practice to get there, because I'm usually very scared of my own failure as a creative, because I identify so hardly with that.
Yeah.
I find there's such beauty, and art is so pure that to like dishonor it would be tragic. So just give yourself a break.
Thank you.
We have time for one more inspired question.
Shit. Pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, the tragedy of the book.
Use the letter E in your question.
Oh.
One more terrible question.
All right, I have a question. If you guys can fit the following word into one question related to this
Oh,
subject
it's
matter,
so good.
that'd be pretty sick. Damn, it's too easy.
Why? How?
Heat. The other one was laughter. It was too easy. Heat. Ask me a question regarding inspiration with the word heat.
Can we do it?
Have you ever?
Wait, you know you can.
You have to hand it.
No.
Oh,
I like getting off the hook for this.
well, you made me present, so.
Oh shit. Do you feel like writing poetry reduces any heat in your own emotional makeup? Or
There is actually a poem that I write about that. When people kept believing that things were like autobiographical, so I kind of look a tad bit like schizophrenic. If you think that it all comes like one day I'm like super happy, the next day I want to kill myself. But I mean, they're not autobiographical. To me, it's more like wordplay. But the fact of just partaking in that activity is a release, and does uplift me a lot. It's like a breath of air when you've been like submerged in water forever. I thought you had a question.
Do you ever find yourself, I guess, like wanting to write a poem in like the midst of like a heat of a moment, kind of?
Like right now.
Yeah, I also do that a lot with songs. Like if I have a really intense moment, good or bad, I'll just like grab the guitar. Actually, no, because the guitar is like incredibly second nature to me. But I'll just belt out a song and then try and figure out what the chords are. But yeah, sometimes there are experiences where just phrases just start forming in your head. I actually, funny story and true story, not so funny story, just true. I have 2 nightstands on either side of my bed, and I have 2 notebooks stocked with pens. Like I'm locked and loaded because I will wake up at 3 in the morning with a thought that I need to write down. And I do this because I have not done this, and it has broken my heart. I lost so many nice things. So if you are like me and just word obsessive and just poetry forward, you're welcome to do that.
Way to use the last question for a self-demonstrating article. Nice way to end it, and the 2 of you for rising to the occasion with awesome heat-related questions. Big round of applause.